happen. Of course, game 1 was a bit of a stomp here from TNC. They don't want a repeat of that if they can afford it. Even a draw here would put them above 0-3-2.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just important to find at least a win. And it's a lot of pressure, Execration. You know, it's not the spot any team wants to be in, but someone's got to be there. So we'll see if they can ride through that pressure. You know, it's been a rough time for Execration. They've had some shining moments, but you know, all the teams in Southeast Asia right now just look so good. And Execration was, you know, their roster has changed a bit here and there since we've last seen them. So there's always that readjustment period as well, just coming out at the wrong time.
It certainly is. So much talent in SCA right now.
Gabby's, oh yeah, they're saying to stop with the tips, BDZ. He's feeling on edge. RR is feeling on edge from the tip. RR is feeling on edge from the tips. Gabby's just calling him. They're telling Gabby to watch out because RR is, you know, he's on edge now. He wants to do something, Mike. He's feeling itchy. He wants to grab him.
Calm down, RR. There's nothing. Everything's gonna be all right, sir. You just calm down.
It's good to see though. Execration, you're still in high spirits.
Oh, you're gonna have a laugh.
I mean, yeah, it's a good sign, right? You go off a game 1 like that, you refresh, and you get a good mindset for game 2. Maybe you can pull it off.
Perhaps. They are going to get a bit aggressive here, but into the Roshan pit is the toss, and the body blocks out from KP. He gets bashed on the way out. KP, he gets a bit of punishment from Roshan for that. Meanwhile, RR is going to just go chase up Tims, get a bit more damage out. Oh, TNC, they're just having a bit of fun now. He'll run back into RR. He'll trade harass with them.
Oh. You know, that takes me back to, say, a Quap and Tiny, and you blink up to the cliff and have an early toss to the cliff. Remember when you had no TPs? That was hell. That was so hell when that happened.
Good old days.
Yeah, still dual lane here. Palos and RR, of course, they've got their work cut out for them. You can see RR really trying to apply that early pressure, and that's what you love to see. The Clockwork has really strong level 1. You just need to close the gap, get the damage off. I think for KP here, up against Palos, you don't want to trade right clicks. The Lifestealer is beefy. He's got the level 1 feast. He can rip through a Lifestealer, so focus on the creeps. That's basically what TNC will do for the most part. While Execration are going to look to flex the muscle of the clock, try to make it as disruptive as possible.
Down a bot lane, Gabby and March going to be up against Raging Potato and BDZ. It's a bit of a struggle here for Gabby so far. He's been taking a lot of harassment off Raging, but looks like he will just be able to relax a bit underneath his tier 1 tower. However, top lane, KB, he was dropping very low on that Bloodseeker. It's going to go back into RR, getting tossed back into the tier 1 tower, and that's what they were doing, John. They were practicing the toss back. RR is going down. Regardless of the Fairy Fire he just used, KP and Tims will split the gold.
Yeah, you're pretty happy with that result. You managed to waste a region as well. Down bot, though, you'd wish for a better time for Gabby. Just dropping low every single time.
He is.
Yeah, it's been a rougher start for the Slark, but that's a sign of life for Execution. This Raging Potato lane shaping up well. They're applying the pressure with the Magus and Rubik. BDZ's off to a very good start. He took March's Courier. So it's slowing down the pace here just a bit for TNC. Gabby's not really finding too much farm. This is just the initial waves. You can see even March is just kind of forced to secure some creeps as well. So it's not a very smooth start for TNC down bot.
No, it is not. That mid lane is going decently for both sides, I've got to say. Ken, he's keeping up in terms of CS for now. Armel has not been able to harass him out quite yet. In fact, Ken does already have a set of tangos ready to go just in case Armel does get on a tear here in that mid lane. And well, he's going to go back into Ken now. It does take a lot of HP off him. Ken be needing to use those tangos now as you are giving KP a bit of extra movement speed and attack speed on that Bloodseeker. Looks like KP going to enjoy that as he does throw out another Blood Right.
It's been smooth sailing up top though. Like Palace is top of the last hit board, so KP has not managed to zone that lifestealer out at all. RR doing a fantastic job, throwing his body in front to get that space out. It is coming at the cost of his levels, so our clock's still stuck at 1 while Palace is at 4. Might slow down that progression to 6, and it most certainly won't make it easy if you are going to go for those bounties at 4. Clockwork at 1 at the 4-minute mark.
Tims.
Not a good cost.
Another nice toss into an avalanche, into the Blood Ride, and poor RR. Oh, that's a rough position to have to be in. Every time you're in the lane, Tims just has the easiest toss back into KP. And they can just keep doing that too, because you can just force the Blood Rite to make the wave push out and push back into your tier 1 tower, which is exactly what TNC have been doing.
Yeah, it's forcing awkward positions for RR. Now, Palace is still finding farm though. I think that's something EXECRATION can take solace in. But see, it's a 4-minute mark. RR is just trying to spot out runes. He's not going to get much done. Although BTC does manage to snag the haste, but this hurts. It hurts the mid much more here.
Oh, it certainly does. Ken having to bring out a salve now, and things are getting very heated in this mid lane. So unfortunately for Ken, he has had to go through quite a bit of regen now. He's going to try back onto Armel with the Flame Guard, but it's really not going to do that much damage. Armel not going to bother popping the salve yet. We'll hold on and just use that tier 1 tower regen. We'll be just fine. Still, at least in terms of CS, Ken is at the top of the board. So you've got that going for you, even if you are buying quite a bit of regen out on December.
Yeah, it's still a decent spot. We expected that lane to be much, much worse. So he's holding off. You do have level 2 now in RR, so they're going to be able to posture around a bit for these 5-minute runes. But it's still a pretty slow start. They do manage to grab 2. And TNC, I think you start to really worry about mainly this lane for Gabby. He is struggling behind, although
Ken does get the kill onto Armel solo. Barely surviving, by the way. He was on 30 HP, but he will make it out. He will survive for another day.
Yeah, that's a massive win. Ken's got to pat himself in the back and gives him the bounce back in the lane. So get some space out to keep that farm. Of course, Tims is going to be there to soak a bit, but you don't want to feed kills like that to Ken. The Ember is going to try to snowball though.
Mid lane, Ken. Tossed back into Armel. Where are you going, sir? He has a remnant of 1 second, but doesn't have the mana for it anyway. He'll just throw it out so he can get back into the lane. Now, RR, if he chased up on that clockwork, does throw the cogs out, should be fine, unless Tims gets another toss back on RR, and he's just going to toss him up into the Blood Rite, and KP will just blow him up. That's a very rough time for RR. 3rd death of the game at 6 minutes, still at level 2 on that clockwork.
Yeah, it's been slow going. Again, I think EXECRATION's going to be happy with the space that R is creating. Palos gets a smooth ramp up to 6. He's got 44 last hits on the board. KP is really just not stopping the Lifestealer, so it's going to be a fast armlet we're seeing from the LS. And we know that the armlet timing is the big power spike for that hero, so expect earlier aggression from Palos for that. Even Raging Potatoes lane not doing too bad. Again, we've seen Gabi slow down, and that's not what you want from the start.
Raging. Gonna make a run. March gonna make the chase. Raging is pretty trapped up here. Really has no way out. And Tims is gonna avalanche toss both of them. Gets the double. Gabby will give the tip over to Raging as they are in the air. It's gonna mean that net worth lead that EXECRATION did have is about to just drop off, and TNC should take it for themselves. And, well, you're gonna be having a very nice time now if you're TNC as we look at the net worth graph. And the one saving grace is what you mentioned earlier, which is Palos, who is still freely farming on the Lifestealer. But everyone else, in terms of net worth, is basically TNC. In fact, KP, what did he just rupture? He ruptured the courier. He ruptured the courier. Why would you do that? KP.
Is it the...
The courier's fine, John. It's going to make it out. It's going to make it. Just bleeding on the way home. Someone call Peter.
True, KP. Trying some things out, Mike. He's experimenting. doesn't work out. Still Execration 7-1. You know, TNC's feeling good here. They may not have a massive lead, but just having this kill lead does mean you're getting more EXP. We've been talking a lot about RR. He's still stuck at 2 on Clockwork, and we love to point out in the Clockwork support, if you lag behind, you will never have room to really catch up in a significant way. So his level 6 timing is going to be stalled out. His item timing stalled out. Even his boots timing is super stalled out here. So
Yeah, it's a very rough time.
Yeah, you're not going to really expect the clock to carry a lot of weight. And you do want that hook shot because of the infest combo. So one combination that's going to be stalled out. They are keeping that Trip and Gabby. So Gabby's still lagging behind even Raging, which is not where you want the Slark to be. He's not found any kills, so there's no permanent Agi stacks being built up. It's been a slower start for Gabby than we're used to seeing, but in that sense, Execration has made that lane work out very, very well.
Well, that's very good news for Execration. Gabby will be stuck just farming for a while, it looks like. Still trying to get those drums up. Bit of a rough time here. Raging has done his job nicely and is working towards the mech now on the Magnus. Execration. Looks like they are going to start moving into that Radiant side jungle and seeing if they can pick up a kill. Armel is just farming the jungle himself now, working towards that Desolator. Tims, he'll show himself mid, but he is very close by to that tier 1 tower, so this could be a bit of a hard ask. Looks like they aren't going to bother trying for him. He'll be fine. Towards that top lane, perhaps, where... Well, RR, he's at the level 3 mark now. Does opt to go for the level 1 Rocket Flare instead of going for the second level in Battery Assault, which makes enough sense when you're this far behind. The Battery Assault level 2 is going to do nothing at this point. Gonna try and fight over the bounties though. 10 minutes in, RR might have to give his life away for this. He does get silenced, and there's your Rupture out. He will just TP away, however, and looks like he will be fine to leave.
Yeah, it's a nice waste of spell there from Execration, so they kind of bait that out, get to build himself out, but they got to secure that triangle, so the stacks are flying in for Armel. That's when the TA starts to ramp up and farm. He already has his blink. I didn't even realize that, and he's going into the Desolator next. It's going to be a really fast timing in that. That's something Execration has to be careful about, because Armel will explode on you once that Deso is up and running. It doesn't look like it's going to take too long either.
Cap Palos at least does have the armlet now up on the Lifestealer. Second in net worth now to Armel, who has taken over. And speaking of Armel, he's going to blink straight in onto Palos. Not really as much damage as you would hope to see, however. You still don't have that Desolator, so it's not really that much damage on the Lifestealer. He's going to be just fine to start rotating. In fact, they're going to try for that mid-tier 1. Not going to be too easy. Toss back onto Ken with an Avalanche now, but BDZ will take the Avalanche away on the Rubik, and they are committed to this push, and they are getting a lot of damage in. KP unable to hold this by himself with the Blood Rite, so he's going to start with the Rupture onto Palos. He's just standing his ground, and they will get that tier 1. Now Tim's going to move in with an Avalanche. Palos still trying to get the Infest off, and does. KP going to chase him down, but now he's been skewered back. They've got control of this Bloodseeker, but the Infest now out. KP going to survive. March will false promise. A great Blood Rite back into the toss as well on Ken. He's been silenced. Raging going down, and will drop. That'll be one death. But Palos now looking to turn back around with Ken. Try to go for the fight up against Gabby and KB. Even Armel for that matter, who is dropping low. But again, March is just going to keep them safe. Execration, all they will lose is the mag. In fact, Tim's in trouble. March not going to be able to stick around and help. They find a secondary.
I'd say Execration aren't, well, they're still not too happy, 8-2, but they're forcing some trades from TNC. I have to say I'm surprised. I didn't notice, but Raging Potato does not have RP. He had many opportunities there. Probably hitting himself in the head a bit for not having a value point, but he was punished. Like, if they had RP there, I think Execration would have been in a good spot still. They took the objective. They're setting their eyes bot, TNC. They're grouping up top for the tier 1. So with their mid down, I think Execration will have better control in this tier 1 for tier 1 trade. you're gonna have to really watch your jungle. Execration can choose to roam into it a bit easier now.
That they will. Bot tier 1 does go down. Execration getting work done. I know you pointed out the RP not being available and Raging earlier on. I suppose he's gone for this almost support style mag in a way, right? Because he's even got the mech going. Just trying to make sure that everyone else stays alive with max and power up. Obviously, it is going to pay dividends for Ken and Palos, who love that max and power. Speaking of, John, they are taking a very, very big stack as we speak. TNC will be nowhere nearby to try and contest this. It's going to be a lot of golden XP going over to Execration.
Yeah, they had all the time in the world to get these stacks up, so props to them for that efficiency. They trade their tier 1 top, but they don't care about that anymore. And all of a sudden, Palos is on top, and that for 300 gold ahead, he is going for that Heaven's Halberd, which will be big although.
Ken, nice dodge on the Blood Right, and BDZ does manage to take the Blood Right on the Rubik now. That's going to be another decent win for Execration, considering they did get the rune and they got the Blood Right.
Yeah, it's a good time for them. They can start to consider the next fight, although I think they're going to wait for Raging Potato's Blink, which is about 1,000 off. So they'll take their time there. A TNC for their part. We're still waiting for that Deso on Armel. 600 gold off. Once you've got that, of course, you can start to rip through those heroes. They are farming forward in that Dark jungle to be safe, because that's where they've got vision out. So Gabby's just focusing on his own bullet, although...
Rupture out. Who have they caught there? It's a toss back onto Raging Potato, but he'll mech up and he will survive, and now looking for the RP. Doesn't get it off. Not quite in the nick of time. It's going to be a 1-for-1 so far, but now March, he's been caught out by RR, getting the hook shot, and that'll be a second. Execration once again able to win this one out for a 2-for-1. I think TNC, they might have just gone a bit preemptively, John. They were 100 gold off having that Deso. And Armel actually has it now coming out on the courier. So they might re-engage here with Gabby. RR gonna get caught out by that pounce. There's your melt strike and he will melt. That'll be a bit of bonus agi coming out for our Slark now. Still looking decent for Execration.
Yeah, I mean, they maintain a slight net worth lead despite being behind in kills. TNC, again, aren't in a good spot because of that lack of mid-tier 1. Ooh, yeah, that's a big one to lose. Not having the Maelstrom's big in man fight.
He's going to lose his life as well. Perhaps he remnants back in onto Armel. Well, okay. He does get the kill. Tims might be able to trade and does. I do like that little play out from Ken. He still got the kill before he did go down, so you can't really blame him for that. And meanwhile, BDZ apparently killed off KP. Down on the opposite side of the map.
And just nice trades coming out for Execration, keeping them really tied in. TNC, they're in a very awkward spot. Gabby's just not ready to go. You know, he's still farming, he's still waiting. He's got the Echo Saber with the drums, but he needs his own Heaven's Halberd up. And for Execration, Palos already has it. So our Lifestealer is just ready to go. They've even got level 6. I mean, RR's already had a hook for a while. They could easily play with Infest if they wanted to. They could easily play with a Blink RP if when Raging Potato has it back up again. And that's going to line up nicely. Like, the RP cooldown should line up with a Blink timing here. So Raging can really start to set up for his team. And once you get that, I think you're in a very good position to start being the aggressor for Execration. I mean, they've already got this bot jungle controlled. You do see Gabby do some good work in the tier 2 top, but same goes for Execration down bot. Palos is just chipping away at this tier 2 as well.
He is. Slowly but surely, these POS 1s trying to get the job done. Whilst now working towards the AC. Has the Halberd. Keeps getting empowered by Raging, so he's just farming like a machine. And you've got to start getting concerned here for TNC. At this rate, Palos is really going to take over on this lifesteal if he just continues to farm. I guess Armel is waiting on the BKB to get more involved in that TA, and Gabby is just still so far behind, but has slowly but surely caught up. Just needs a bit more to feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's just a patience game here for TNC. They've got to be very careful with where they are on the map, though, as EXECRATION can just
Ara
go.
gets the hook shot onto Tims, but Armel looking to blow him up. Heaven's Halberd is there from Palos, but Tims will finish off the job. Still BDZ has the avalanche now, looking to turn. Tims, he's going to get the false promise out from March and survive this one as Palos needs to run now. Gabby, he's taking too many stacks away, or perhaps not. He'll just be sent back. Raging. Still going to hold on to that RP as they do jump back in now onto March. And EXECRATION once again are winning this team fight as the backlines. They get the RP off onto two heroes. KB is going to be able to get out. Armel has to try and fight this one out with Gabby. The fight continues, but Armel is very low, tries to meld, but does not make it out. Still Gabby by himself is trying, but he will Shadow Dance, he will TP away, and he'll be fine. But March may not be. He got chained up. He'll Fortune's End and be alright, it seems. We'll walk away. And believe it or not, after all that time, it was just a 2 for 2.
Yeah, it's still a better trade once more for EXECRATION. They're finding the kill, it's on their course. You're seeing problems bursting down this Lifestealer. And Palos, he's farming up into the AC. So once that's up, those issues just magnify for TNC. They need so much more to fly in. Gabby still has to finish that halberd up. It's still 700 gold away. And once you have that, you might have some ways of keeping Palos in check. But it's still a while off. And EXECRATION, they're not sitting around. They just play in that opposing jungle. They're getting the momentum up. They're eyeing the objectives. You know, if they're allowed to keep chipping away at this tier 2 slowly but surely, it will fall. And that'll just open up more avenues for EXECRATION to assert that aggression now. Whereas TNC, this is not a very standard game for Armel. Like, his farm timing is still not bad, but it's definitely not as it usually is. And they are playing from behind. This is not where TNC tends to go from the laning phase. They're going to have to find a way to keep playing catch-up and get themselves to a better spot to get these fights.
That was a really weird hook shot. Just landed on Ken for some reason. It's like nobody going to get taken out in this mid lane. Armel will be able to grab an Arcane Rune for himself and be just fine. And EXECRATION are seemingly looking to perhaps smoke up now. They've got 10 seconds on that RP, but they should have it up by the time they meet up with TNC. Question is, who do they run into? They run northwest. So you've got Tims and you've got Gabby. Gabby, the only one really showing on the map right now, but Raging. He's going to still see Gabby. Has the RP to set up. Gabby should now know he got a warning shot. Raging. Gonna get the skewer off onto the slot. Now the RP, but he got the Shadow Dance in time. So Gabby is gonna be fine, and now they jump back in after RR and just blow up the clockwork. Ken has been pounced on. The Infest will help a bit, but now the Fortune's End just holding them down. Ken has to remnant up. Palos still trying to fight Gabby. Has he waited too long? No. The false promise will be there, and Tims will jump in on Ken. Does get the Ember Spirit, and now Armel is looking for the cleanup, and he might just get it as Raging kind of helps them with that skewer, but Palos is still going to run, still going to be fine, but they are diving tier 3 towers. Now they do want the Magnus, and Raging is going to go down.
Oh man, that would have been a lot cleaner without that skewer back, but TNC, with those kills, my 3k lead all of a sudden popping out here, 16-8, and EXECRATION. The moment they fail to get the initiation they want, it does fall apart. That's just some disciplined plays from Tims. This Ghost Scepter early, buying so much space for the Tiny to get that deep dive in and break up the fight. EXECRATION, they need to use the RP a lot better. They need to catch more out. They were piling on to Gabby. They're really trying to keep that fish down, that Slark, but it's not enough. And the issues are starting to pile on. Look at KP. He's got Guardian Greaves up. So you are really going to struggle now to burst them down. It's going to take a little bit longer when they're on that low HP. And TNC, well, that BKB for Armel, it's not too far off. In fact, it's flying in. So you're going to have a BKB on the TA, and they get to go into that Roshan.
You do. Gabby getting started. Armel going to be there with the melt strike now, but EXECRATION, they know what's happening. They're going to make their way in. Raging, getting a nice skill back on KP, and that should be at least one down for TNC, but no, he gets a 4-staff up to the high ground. Now the remnants to follow. Ken still trying to get the chains off, but KP still safe. Gabby blocking the hook shot now from RR. More remnants flying in, but March, can he keep him safe? KP finally does go down, but at what cost? You've lost Ken on the Ember. He'll buy back. Armel had his hands tied behind his back, but now the halberd does wear off. It's a 2-for-1. Buyback from March. Roshan is still low on Palos. He's going to hang around the pit, but TNC are going to go for a smoke. They're not going to try and sneak it, but rather go for a pick-off attempt, it seems. Now realizing maybe they're not even there.
It's a smoke on smoke. EXECRATION, they also went for that same kind of play. You have high ground here in TNC though. Oh,
they're going straight into them. Tims gets a double avalanche into the toss. RP though raging. He got all three of them. That's a huge RP out. Gabby, he'll get out of the Kongs, but I can't say the same for Tims. He has the false promise, however. He is still alive, but probably not for long. However, avalanche toss going to be there in time. Now Ken going to make the chase onto March. They got Tims. They want another support, and March is a bit of a sitting duck. He does have some purifying flames out, and somehow is still alive, but not for long. Back onto the Roshan is Palos. TNC are still not going to let this one go. They want to take the fight. Gabby's going to come back in. Another rupture out onto your lifestealer, Palos. Trying to arm the toggle. Fighting back now up against Gabby. He'll shadow dance onto Raging. He doesn't have the RP, but it's a nice skewer. Now the remnants in from Ken. Back from Palos. Gabby is still low, still running, but it looks like he might just drop. He's trying to use that fog, but no, the purifying flames is out from BDZ, dropping him down. Now it's Armel bursting the world. He has a DD rune, but he's not going to be able to verse all four of them. They do take him out, and they will now go back for the Roshan play. But Tims is coming back in, John. He's going to try for the steal. Roshan's low. Aegis on the deck, but Tims, he won't make it in time. Palos does pick up the Aegis. And what a prolonged team fight it was.
Oh man, the back and forth between both sides is starting to build up. You can see EXECRATION, they're really not out of it yet. They've got the team fight. They've got the damage coming in now. TNC are still lagging behind here. They're having issues with that lifestealer and KP.
RR gets the hook shot off KP. Now Cogs push back. Does get the blood right. It's a nice 3-man silence, but there should be hardly any way to get out of this one, and he will drop. It's getting worse and worse for TNC as time does tick on.
Yeah, they're just kind of giving these kills one by one. The execution's falling a bit flat. It's a severe lack of damage that's starting to play in. They just cannot handle the lifestealer. Palos lives through every single engagement. They need to find a way to get damage onto him. Like the Dezo is not cutting it for Armel. He is going for the Orchid next, which will be nice, but you start to look at Gabby, he really does need that Scotty up just to prevent that HP toggling there. So once you have that Scotty up on Gabby, you're going to have more stats, you're going to have a better time, but that's a slow farm up. Severely behind there in the build-up. TNC is going to have to find a way to stall out. EXECRATION, they're not massively ahead as well. It's like 1 to 2k lead. They're going to have to make the most out of this Aegis, make the most of that power spike. They're going to go for that tier 2 bot. It's just going to be Palos getting a shove off.
Very nice play here from Palos. Tims, he's playing around up that top lane, trying to just split push the wave and make them feel a little bit uncomfortable here on the side of EXECRATION. But they don't, and they want to try for a Rax, it seems. They got the Guardian Greaves now up on Raging, so they've got even more sustain. TNC may be forced into a defense. That is going to be the case. Palos, he's huge. Bloodright, going to be easily avoided, and he'll just get back to it. TNC, they're going to have to commit to a team fight. There's no way out of this one. Rupture, going to be out on Palos, but he's already at the tier 3 tower. He's happy to sit there. He'll rage up through the Bloodright. Back into that tier 3 tower. Does get it. Now onto the Rats. Chains are out. Ken holding the back and now Raging. Trump trying to jump in, does force out the BKB.
Oh.
Nice toss back from Tims, but it's on Raging. He'll just RP and get out of there. Now RR with the hook shot, pushing back March, not letting him get close, but TNC will continue with the fight. They'll try, but Gabby's low. He'll shadow dance. There's your false promise, but they are dropping like flies, TNC. There's 3 down without buyback. Now another chains out from Ken. Gabby's low. He's trying to get to the fountain. He will barely make it as Tims. A great toss back. Kills off Ken. They get at least 1 for their trouble, but they will lose the bot rats. Luckily for them, that is all they're going to lose on TNC's end, as they still have 2 tier 2 towers, but Tims again with the toss back onto RR is going to give Gabby a nice free kill, but it may cost him his own life. He'll go Scepter and try to run. He does also have the Yules available, but won't get it off in time. It's going to be a 2 for 4 trade. But Gabby is still on the hunt. He's feeling confident here. Sees Raging, doesn't want to bother with the mag. Or maybe he does. Comes back in, steals more stats away. There's your skewer out on Gabby. Can he really fight this? No, he can't.
Nah, he's just protecting it, so they've gotten outpost for the 10-minute mark. So at 30 minutes in, gonna get that injection of EXP. TNC, 1 racks behind, not a good spot. 6k lead up for Execration. Starting to look very hard to fight into it. TNC Execration, they're not relenting as well. They still have the Aegis. There's a good full minute to make use of that. They've got control of the jungle, so they can just clear it up to find some tier 3 items as well. And TNC now in a very awkward position. Start playing defense a lot more. But they still need a lot more farm on Gabby and on Armel. Just not quite lining up yet. Still, Scotty up now and Gabby. So they've got a way to mitigate that HP regen, the sustain that we're seeing from Execration. As long as Gabby gets some hits off, they'd have a manageable time in dealing with that tankiness if he can get the hits off.
Execration still feeling very, very good with that 5k net worth lead. Just going to hold on to it now as they do approach that 30-minute mark. They'll take that outpost back away from TNC, and KP will do the same thing on the other side of the map. TNC can't really afford to lose that free XP at the moment. Have to hold on. The smoke up now, but it's being pinged out. There was a toss-up from BDZ, I believe it was, that made it very obvious. Still great hook shot out now from RR. He's going to push back Armel. Still refraction is going, but Armel's being pushed back very far. He gets the BKB, and Tims may have saved the day. Raging's looking for an RP attempt. He doesn't get one quite yet. Now Gabby going to come in, start stealing stats, but he's been disarmed. He'll purge it off, and he's back into it. They've lost BDZ on the Rubik, and now what a blood right to come out. Raging, he gets an RP on 1, but it's not going to matter if he doesn't have any teammates left. Palos, he is completely surrounded, and Gabby is hitting way too hard on the Slark now. He needs the Infest to run, but they're not done. Tims comes in with the Avalanche, with the toss. They'll get Raging, and now onto the Lifestealer. Palos has been left alone, and Gabby will have his way, as he has 30 stacks of stolen Agi right now. He is hitting very, very hard on the Slark, my god.
Oh, yeah. It's that matchup. The Slark against the Lifestealer. Once he can get some hits in and do consistent damage over time, Gabby's going to be big. And it does get bigger and bigger. The Scotty paying off in dividends here, Mike. There was no sustain. The Execration could not sustain that fight down to that 1 item pickup from Gabby enabling that. Now, high ground under siege. They won't have RP. They're about to find a way to stall this one out because TNC, they want to even out that map control.
Gabby, tier 3 tower, gonna drop very, very fast. He still has those Essence stacks. He used that to get the tier 3, and it looks like that'll be it for now. They are about to wear off, but no, he's gonna go back in with Armel. They'll get the top lane of racks. Essence Shift about to wear off. Oh, that is a nice skewer out from Raging, but Gabby, he'll go for the pounce onto RR. We'll take him out. Now Tims with a great avalanche toss back onto Raging. He can't get out of this. He's been ruptured, and he will die. KP with the cheeky 4-star play. Now Tim's got a 4-staff, John, so it seems like they really are memeing here, TNC. They want the rupture into the 4-staffs and just kill somebody. It's not a nice thing to do, but it's sure as hell pretty funny.
It's funny and it works. That's the important bit. It's going to pay off for them if they can make this plays. Even the toss rupture, right? That's the combo to look for still. Palos does still do a respectable amount of damage. It's going to force TNC to wait off. You've got some nice items here for Ken. Ag's up and running on the Ember Spirit. So he has more presence with the Fire Remnants. He can jump around the map a lot more. Going to be important. So they've got a way to consistently keep that top lane in check. Still, Gabby, all of a sudden, #1 in net worth. He's got the MKB, so he has even more consistent damage flying in to deal with that lifesteal.
That's very problematic now for Palos. The evasion before was helping him out quite a lot. And even, of course, the bonus armor from the AC was quite nice, but now with that bonus magic damage coming out from the MKB, it's going to be tough. So they're not out of this game at all. It's just 1 Rax for 1 Rax so far. But TNC has found the lead. Dota Plus has been bouncing up and down, but it's at 66% now for TNC. So it's looking up. And it looks like both teams are going to start preparing for that next Roshan play.
Yep, it's a bit of time off. Going to be a minute until it's up. But that's the next objective for both sides, to enable a further push. I think it's much more important for EXECRATION, considering the state of the map. They have a tier 1 to still take up top before. Oh.
Avalanche toss onto Palos. That's going to be it.
They've got a lot more map to eat through here, EXECRATION. Need to clear that tier 1 top before thinking about the tier 2 top, which means that Roshan is going to enable that play for them. Still, gotta keep their eyes out for it. They've got some good wards. They do not have anything like this trap from Armel, so TNC's always going to have the latest info, but they've got the flares to play with, and TNC actually do smoke up.
Smoke, but Gabby's actually just going to go back and hit Ancients. He seems to believe that EXECRATION might be smoked and they might make a rotation to the triangle. His team is smoked right around him and just waiting. Now they're going to realize that is not the case. Still 35-minute bounty runes are about to spawn up, but the side of EXECRATION have made their way down to the bot rune spots. They do not want to engage in a fight. But they have also given up Roshan position. In fact, Ken did try to come in for that bounty, misses out. Now the Roshan's up.
It's, again, a key objective for both. You can play around with your clock with the flares. You've got Blink RP ready. Might be a scary spot for TNC in the wrong area, but they're also playing caution. They know that it's a bit of a risk. They're going to take their time until maybe they find a pickup or catch someone out of position first.
TNC, smoke up. KP for some reason is not going to be smoked. He'll hang on the outskirts and maybe act as bait. That appears to be the case. He'll move in now with the Blood Right. Team right around him. They're having a look at KP. Tree ward down. KP goes for a rupture onto Palos. Now Armel jumping in with the toss back from Tims.
Oh.
And Palos is just going to bleed to death. Oh, that is not nice.
Oh.
Now they look for more. RR going to hook shot away. Not going to waste his time being around there, but Raging may not be so lucky. Tims on the chase, has the toss back with the blink, but Raging now going to skewer him back at home into the base. BDZ now toss up. But RR looks to be the one caught here, trying to TP, but won't make it out. Gabby has the damage. Here come the buybacks. Remnant in. That is brave from Ken. He'll Remnant back out. Palos now going in onto the Tiny, but Gabby stealing more shifts away. They're just going to try and manage how many Gabby does get. He's already sitting at 13, and they go up real quick with his attack speed right now.
Oh yeah, and they last so much longer with its level 25 talent in play. It's going to last a minute at the least longer, and that's going to be a good spot. Now, with those buybacks, they could opt to force a Roche fight. They still have to worry about RP and the hook shot. EXECRATION has some good angles in, but you've got a Hex up in Armel, so even more control here. Tier 4 items are being scouted out as well. Probably just wait for those power spikes to be done with.
Going back in TNC. KP going to be spotted. Does get the rupture off again onto Palos, but this time Palos was ready. False Promise will save KP, and Palos still trying to run. He's still ruptured, but it will wear off now. Meanwhile, RR in danger, is going to die back, but he's been ruptured. Gabby is the one that is bleeding out right now thanks to BDZ. Needs to get the Shadow Dance off, and does, but can't really move. Instead, they'll toss Raging to him, and Gabby will take care of the mag. He'll buy back. Into Palos, who's been avalanched. Remnants forward from Ken. He'll use the BKB into the RP of Raging. It could be a big one. They infest out, but it's not going to be enough. Gabby's still fighting back. Will pounce back out. KP is brought back now on the Bloodseeker. Now back in from Tims. Gets Raging Potato with a dieback, and they've got Palos under control. He's been pounced up. He needs to run, but he's falling low. He'll armlet toggle through the damage of Armel. Now Ken will remnant out of there. BDZ will not be so lucky, however. He is dead. But they do TP Palos out. No buybacks left on the map, John. 0.
Yeah, this is a scary spot for Execration. High ground under siege once more. Look at Gabby. 26 stacks up. They're gonna try.
It's a lot of damage, but they disarm him and stun him up. Gabby's still fine. Has another Shadow Dance, so he can turn back around now. They rupture up Palos. He's kind of stuck there, and Tim's gonna toss him up in the air, and that is GG. Well played. There are no buybacks left. You've lost all your cores, and TNC, even while memeing, do get it done. And that'll be a 2-0 victory for this TNC side.
Yeah. Clean wins for TNC. Execration, they look pretty good though. Props to them. They brought the fight out. Not enough to overcome the powerhouse that is TNC. And they still find themselves staring at that 8th place spot. Not a good spot to be in. They do have, one series left, right? And it's going to have to count for those boys at Execration. TNC though, pats in the back overall. I think they're hammering in their 3rd place spot. Had a very good point. So our upper bracket's starting to form up. It's down to those teams at the lower bracket, Mike, and they've got a lot more. Well, not a lot, but they've got a few more games. We're down to the last 2 days. It's been a fast group stage.
2 days left, and we'll see what happens. It's been a very interesting week and a half or so. I believe it has been. Maybe just a week. I can't wait for the playoffs, though, I've got to say, after seeing all these games. Getting